Hello and welcome to Flying Bobbins. I'm Liz and today I'm going to talk you through how to make the Agnes t-shirt by Tilly and the Buttons. I've made this t-shirt a couple of times before. It's a really nice pattern and I hope you'll enjoy this sew along today. I'm going to use some denim blue linen slub jersey, and this is available from flyingbobbins.com. As you can see, I am wearing my WBT Wardrobe by Me Wardrobe Builder fitted t-shirt that I made last week. If you fancy making the Agnes in a stripe fabric like this one, then have a look at that video tutorial as well, because I go through in a lot of detail some various techniques for matching up with the stripes. If you're making the Agnes t-shirt in a stripe fabric, then have a look at that video as well for more tips and techniques. So in your Tilly and the Buttons pattern envelope, you have got all of your pattern pieces. Mine have already been cut out. What's that there? Oh, some swatches. Okay, let's just see. So in your Tilly and the Buttons envelope, you've got your lovely instruction booklet, always really good instructions from Tilly and the Buttons, and you've got your pattern pieces for the various different styles of top. You've got a few styling choices. You can make a plain t-shirt, or you can make a t-shirt with these lovely puffy gathered sleeves, and you've also got the option to add a little bit of gathering there at the centre front. So it's got a scoop neck, which you can make with or without gathers, and then sleeve wise you've got a puffy sleeve or a plain sleeve, and you've also got different length options with the sleeve as well. Having made this before a few times, I can tell you that it's quite a tight fitting top. It's definitely meant to be just like how she's wearing it there. You know, it's not a baggy t-shirt at all, it's quite a fitted t-shirt. So have a think about which style you want to make, and then next we're going to choose our size. So you just need to measure your bust, waist and hip, circle which measurement you are on there, and that will lead you to decide which size you're going to make. You've got sizes 1 to 8 in this pattern, which is a UK size 6 up to a UK size 20. And that is a bust of 76 centimetres or 30 inches up to a bust of 112 centimetres or 44 inches. So I'm going to make a size 3, so I've cut out around the line number 3. Just cut around the lines that correspond to the size that you want to make. If you're not sure which size to make, then a good tip is just to get one of your favourite t-shirts that you know fits you and fold it in half really flat, lay it against that centre back seam and just look at which size your t-shirt comes up to. Now, as you can see by looking at these pattern pieces, this is really quite shaped, so it is quite a fitted t-shirt. It comes in at the waist and then goes back out again, giving you plenty of room for that t-shirt to sit nicely over your hips and not sort of roll up. But it does kind of have a very kind of waisted feel to it, this one. It does kind of go in at the waist there. So you should have 4 pattern pieces in total: your front bodice, your back bodice, your sleeve, and I'm using the ruched sleeve. You've also got a plain sleeve in your pack, and your neckband. So you should have 4 pattern pieces ready to cut out in your fabric. I'm just going to trace off or cut off here because I'm going to do this as a cropped sleeve rather than a long sleeve. I've made this before as a long sleeve, so I'm just going to do the shorter length now. It's ever so slightly shaped at the side, and I'm just going to keep that bit that I'm chopping off so I can sellotape it back on again if I want to make another long sleeve top later on. There we go, so that's my 4 pattern pieces ready to go. Next thing on the agenda is just to wash your fabric. Always a good idea to wash fabric first before cutting it. then you can be happy that you're not going to experience any shrinkage after you've made your top that's going to spoil the look. So always pre-wash your fabric, and I wash at 30 degrees on a delicate or short spin cycle and hang up to dry. I don't tumble dry it. When you hang it up to dry, just make sure that you're supporting all the weight of that fabric so it doesn't stretch and doesn't get any unsightly sort of bumps. If you're hanging it over a horse, just move it around a bit so that it dries nicely. Okay, so I'm going to fold this fabric now and get ready to cut out my Agnes top. Next, on to cutting out. Now you have got a cutting out plan on your inside about page 4 of your booklet. It says for the wider fabrics you're going to fold the selvages into the middle to cut the back and front bodice, and then you're going to use the remaining fabric folded in half to cut out one pair of sleeves and your neckband. Most jerseys are on this wider setting. If you're using a narrower fabric, you can put the back and front bodices one after the other and then cut the sleeve in the remaining fabric. But most jerseys you'll find are on this kind of wider 140 centimetre width of fabric. So by folding the selvages, so the selvages on your jersey, you may see that they're kind of gluey, or you may see that they've got sort of a slightly different look. Maybe some selvages are printed with a little strip, but you should be able to recognise the selvages of your fabric. If it's not that obvious, just take a closer look at the fabric itself. And this is quite a slubby one, so it's hard to see, but if I really look closely at this fabric, I can see those kind of typical V shapes that you get with jersey, and those V shapes should run in vertical lines down your body. So from your neck to your hem, you should get those vertical lines of knit, and then on the reverse side of your fabric you'll see these wiggly lines, which is the purl side of the jersey, just like in a knitted jumper but on a smaller scale. You have to look a bit more closely at. It's getting incredibly dark outside. It is going to pour down with rain any minute now. I can really see. I hope that the video is nice and clear, because a minute ago the sunshine was really, really bright and I was thinking, oh, I'll sit outside for lunch, but now it's absolutely, the sky has gone black. Anyway, I digress. So when you're cutting out your jersey, just make sure that your grain line, or your centre back and centre front line, is running along the same direction as the knit. You don't want to cut it this way. You want those vertical lines of knit to be running down your body. That's really important. And you just want to get a nice fold there that you can line up this centre front line with the fold of that fabric. And you're just going to cut out. Now, jersey's nice because it doesn't fray, but it does have a tendency to curl up a bit at the ends. Just make sure that it's sitting nice and flat where you folded it. And I've given myself plenty of space there to cut out that front panel. Now what they say is to then fold the other selvage into the centre and cut your centre back, but actually with my width of fabric that's going to be quite wasteful, so I think what I'll do is I'll actually try to cut them. I've got just enough fabric to cut one on top of the other, or alternatively I could cut this out and then fold the fabric in and cut out the back, and then I've got a nice big piece of leftover jersey there. But have a look at your size that you're cutting, have a look at how your pattern pieces fit, and it might be dependent on the width of the fabric that you're using, that you're better off moving your pieces around a bit to make most use of your fabric. I've got a nice straight line there, so I'm just going to place my fold up against that line, and I use some pattern weights, and I'm going to use a rotary cutter. So with cutting out jersey you can use pins if you prefer, it's just up to you. This weather has been so stormy and grey. What's happened to spring? Right. I'm going to put that up. These are coasters. Do you know what? How bad is this? I really need to get some pattern weights, don't I? There we go. So that's all nice and weighed down. And I'm just going to carefully cut round there with my rotary cutter, but you could use pins if you prefer. Always make sure my hand is behind my blade, not in front of it. go, so that's that hemline cut. I should just carry on cutting all the way around. And I'll just keep any scraps because they will be good for testing my stitches later on when I get my overlocker set up ready to sew. And there's my front bodice cut out there. So I now need to transfer any notches or any pattern markings. I'm going to use my chalk pen for that. So I've got a waist seam here, a nice bright pink chalk mark. Make sure I get on both sides. Help me match up my pattern later. Really important. Somebody on the sewing bee the other day said they don't bother with notches. Oh my goodness me, my head fell off my shoulders. Can't live without notches. And I'm actually not going to do the gathering at the centre front, but if you were, it says here mark elastic stitching line along the centre front, so you could just put a little mark there which is going to show you where to begin and end your elastic area there. There we are. So if I take that off now and unfold that, you will see my front panel. Can you hear the rain? Oh my goodness. No wonder the sky was looking so dark. There you go. So you can see I've unfolded that now, and that is the front panel of my jersey top. So I've just folded that fabric in again. I found that this was the best economical way to cut out my top. It's got a nice fold just along here, and I'm now going to cut out my back panel. Because I've folded from the same side, it just means that I've got to flip that pattern piece round so that this centre back edge here is along the fold, and I should just weigh that down. Definitely I'm going to make some pattern weights, that's what I'm going to do. These coasters are good, but they're a bit big. Let's pop these down here. Okay. So make sure that is lined up to the centre back there. Good. And off I go. And the sun has come back out after a torrential downpour. Torrential rain. Let's mark those notches on. Shoulder seam knot. Two notches at the back armhole. You have to, conventionally you'll have two notches on the back, one notch on the front. A waist notch there to help me match things up. There we go. Incidentally, if you are tall or petite, and you can look at the pattern to get the finished measurements, if you wanted to lengthen or shorten the pattern, you would do so at this point here, just above the waist. So you would just slash that line and either split the pattern like this to lengthen it and put a bit of paper in between, or fold, put those one over the other to shorten it, kind of like, whoops, like so. And then you just blend those lines in, and just whatever you do to the front, do exactly the same to the back. So that's my back pattern piece done. Super quick to cut out, this one. Just a few pieces. There's my back pattern piece. So now I'm going to cut out my pair of sleeves and my neckband. Onto the sleeve and the neckband. So I'm just using that lower piece of the jersey Incidentally, I've got the remainder of the jersey, the weight of that fabric is all supported on the table. I don't want anything dragging off the side of the table because that would pull and distort the stretchy fabric. So you want the weight of the fabric to be supported. So I am simply going to measure, this is the grain line here of the sleeve, and I just want to measure that from the fold of the fabric here at one point and then another point to make sure that that is in line with the selvage, with the straight grain, or with the grain of the knit. So it doesn't matter what that measurement is, as long as it's the same at the bottom and at the top. So that's 20 centimetres there and 20 centimetres there. So there's my pair of sleeves cut out. Whoops, and I just want to mark on those notches to help me match it up with the bodice. So we've got, and all these notches are marking on the wrong side of the fabric, so that will help me later. I've got the sleeve head up there. And one notch at the front armhole, two at the back, one at the front. And then I just want to mark onto this pattern, this elastic stitching line, and this is really important. So what I shall do is I shall just poke a pin through that dot on both layers of fabric, and I'll peel back my pattern and just make a mark where that pin is. Flip it over and do the same on the other side. And then what we can do is join up those lines with a nice straight chalk line, which will help us later on when we come to adding that elastic ruching to the sleeve. You see that line there? And this is all drawn on the reverse side of the knit, the purl side, so it's going to be on the inside of the garment. But this chalk marks will also wash out once this top's been washed as well. Last but not least, we're going to cut out the neckband, and this is also cut on the fold. There's my neckband there. So everything's cut out. I've got my front and back bodice panels, my neckband, my pair of sleeves, and I've got some scraps there which will be useful for testing my stitches.